everybody, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. I've had some picks this week. I actually did something I usually don't do, and I myself went to an auction. Usually I got a lot of pickers that go to auctions, and I don't really mess with them too much. There was one in a place that no one I know that was gonna be out there that had a huge collection of postcards. I bought like 1,500 postcards in an auction lot that I had to bid on. I bid against several other people. I was the top bidder on it. There was 3 other people bidding on it. Something that I usually don't go and do and mess with, but there were some really good postcards in there. I had a heads up. I know people who do work at some of these auction houses, so I have a little heads up sometimes on what just came in or what they have acquired. Sometimes I even get a sneak peek. I mean, I can't get them ahead of time or anything, but in those cases, but at least I get to see what's going on and take a better look. And I did purchase them, and I got some postcards out of that huge stack, 1,500 plus. This is all that I got out of that. So this stack right here, I probably won't go into like individual postcards this time on here. I've done a lot on postcards, as I've said in the past. I wanted to show some other odd items. I run into a lot of other items. I've been kind of centering in on postcards and things like that because they are huge money makers. I've got a Facebook group too, and one of the members who's a subscriber looked up some of the history on some of the real picture postcards and showed me one that I wasn't unaware of because I hadn't looked in a couple weeks. He showed me one that went really high the other day from the Tahoe area. It went for $1,800 plus. The one that I sold for $450 is, just way down there, less than a quarter of that. My postcard, though, he figured out was number 42, the 42 highest sold real picture postcard. Now, this one dwarfs mine by, 1,000 plus, but postcards are huge. This week, I'll probably show you some close-ups on my postcards, and I'm going to break you down the actual cost into them and what I get out of them and how well they do work. And again, that's residual income. Just like everything I get is residual income. But, as I said on the postcards, I spent some money. There's a couple postcards in here. 2 or 3 postcards will pay for everything I spent on 1,500 plus postcards. So that's just how that works. But I'm not going to go into the postcards today. I've got a lot of other stuff here too. And I'm going to have to do some close-ups here to show you some stuff. We've had some stuff going around here. I had my main printer server / storage server go down. It's an old jobby. I'm going to show it probably in another video here, but it's just something that you can help and maintain your equipment. I'll talk about that it can help you, especially if you're in environments that have dusty and dirty stuff in it sometimes. But anyway, we'll move on to today's pick. I don't buy much pottery ever, hardly ever, just because it's just a nuisance for me. I do sell it, but sometimes it gets chipped and damaged before I sell it, so I don't like to mess with it. And they're usually not huge high dollar ones, the ones that I see. And people are very particular on pottery. But this one here, I paid $1 for it. This is all I saw, and he wasn't paying attention to it. I turned it around, and sure enough, there's something odd. It's got a 1937 coronation. So this was the coronation of Queen Elizabeth from 1937. So this is like a souvenir. It looks totally handmade and made in Japan. Which they would have been because Japan was right over there in the Orient at the time, and Hong Kong was a British monarchy, basically controlled by the monarchy. So this kind of stuff in there. The port was opened up through the White Fleet in like 1910, 1911. So this all area fits in. So it's not odd to see a British piece for the royal coronation, made in Japan. I know they do a lot of British named fine bone china and stuff, but this is just an odder one. So for $1, I said, what the heck? It's real good condition. It's got one minor rub to the bottom on the footing part, so that's not a huge ordeal. It looks great, displays nice. I'll probably get $10-15 minimum. That's just bottom line for it, and then up from there. But that's a pretty good one. Let me show you this one here. I paid $1 for this. I wasn't even sure what it was. He wasn't sure what it was. It looks like it's part of something or nothing really much, but it has a patent date of 1903 on it. Now, I messed with it for a minute here, and you can surmise that it mounts onto a table. Actually, it mounts on this way, and, it turns and does something here. Well, I just assumed this was some kind of thread winder. I saw these here, you know, for twist and rope. I've had those, I've seen them. They're cast iron like this. But this is actually something totally different, something I would have never guessed this is. I looked it up, the company name, where was the company name? Darn it, where's the company name on here? Oh, here we go, here's the company name. It's Facile, F-A-C-I-L-E. And I looked that up real briefly there because I didn't want to get something even for $1 if it was just junk. And I saw, you know, some winders and stuff for tennis and stuff. So I figured, you know, it's at least worth 30 bucks. Said it was for tennis, winding up the netting. But so that was fine, you know, it's a vintage 1903 solid cast iron wood handle. It still works even. And I get home and I'm looking this thing up, and it's actually a centrifuge. You'd mount it on a table, and it's used by the dairy industry to spin out the milk and whey and stuff. And, you know, there's literally 3 or 4 of these on eBay, and they start at in the 160, 170 range for these. Some people had them up for as high as 250. So I was quite surprised. It's a very interesting, unique item. It's heavy, it weighs a ton, it's cast iron, as I said, it's dated, company name, everything. Stuff like this, no matter what it is, if it works, it's complete. It's metal and wood like this with a date from, you know, 1920s or before, or even, you know, newer than that, depending on the item. They're worth money. Like the hay pulleys and things like that. I buy those all the time. You know, the hay pickup tools and all that stuff. He had one today. It was a barn pulley, but it had a piece of cast iron broken, so you know, I had to pass on that one. I don't buy any of them unless they're complete and working. I'll pay more. You know, I'd have paid more for this if I knew that's what it was. You know, but I thought it was just the literally, and you can look it up too. I think it was called tennis net tightener or something like that. And, you know, for all I figured that's what it was, because I've seen tools like that. I had a friend who was in the top like 500 tennis players. He used to play at the Palm Coast Players Club in the Flagler area down on the beach. Anyway, and I've seen a lot of this equipment. I've been in there. We were in there for the oh geez, one of the big tennis championships with John McEnroe was there. And I lived in Florida for a while, for those who didn't know. And, you know, so I've seen this. I figured that's exactly what it was. And I was really surprised when I looked into this a little more and found out it was way better than I thought. So this alone paid for everything for my picker right here, this one piece, and I still make 40 or 50 bucks. And that's on a buy it now at 167 or whatever I think the other one I saw sell for. And there's several other sites that these go up to 200. I might slap this on Amazon even. It's an interesting oddball item that might go for like twice that on Amazon to an international buyer that maybe wouldn't have bought it normally. This is the kind of stuff that I might throw up on Amazon too right off the bat and just see what happens. I'm sure I'll get an offer on eBay, but you know, it's an interesting item. So anyway. I'll get this out of the way here too. I talk about phones a lot. The colors sell. And if you can't see the color very well, it's like a turquoise baby blue mix. It still works. I've plugged it into another cord. Everything's there, the mounts, everything. Someone's actually replaced or cleaned up the connections on the back before I even got it. So I figure somebody might even use this and it was just mounted on the wall. But it works. It's a trim line. It's kind of like a princess phone, but this is a wall version. It actually can be used either way, I would imagine. I think there's a base or something you can get, or foot attachments. Otherwise, it's a wall phone. But either way, the color's good. I paid $1 for this too. It's probably 20 or 30 bucks after you clean it up. You can clean up the cord and everything as long as it's not cracked. But good item. Another item here, I buy, as I said, very few pieces of ceramic. I've got a shelf or so full of it. But this is a Order of the Eagles, and this is like a fraternal group. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's hand-painted. This is a real nice mug. Even the clock, the whole works. You can see the paintbrush strokes. It's a real nice piece. Probably 1910, 1920. It's got a little scribble mark on the bottom. Who knows what that is, but it's a very pretty mug. I'm sure this piece will sell for at least, say, 15 or 20 bucks minimum. I got $2 into it. You know, this was well worth $2. I spent $120, $23, I think, on everything you see here, plus a few other things, and that's not counting the postcards. So the postcards literally are from an auction. I just went to the auction. I asked and told them that I had to be somewhere, which I did. I had employees, and asked if they could pull the postcards for the very first thing. Otherwise, I might not be able to stick around for them to be bid on, and I was willing to pay what it took to get them. They literally pulled it up to the second lot that was listed, or up for auction. So literally, I got a good deal. And it was only in there for 30 or so minutes. Maybe 40 by the time, because I had to check out and the whole works, and they had to pull my number out and get the stuff off the floor anyway. So, that's the other part of it. That was a big chunk of change, so I've got 360 or so into the postcards. But again, it was 1,500 plus postcards unsearched. There's some more in there that are, I'm going to sell in lots and stuff, quite a few more, but the handful I showed you was the ones that'll go individually and sell very well. 15, 20 bucks minimum a piece, with some into the hundreds. But that's that. This is pretty interesting. I thought this was just a little wooden box, or some kind of like foamed or pressed plastic or something. But it's actually hand-carved wood. There's even a dish inside. I don't know what this would be for, candy or something, but the dish has a chip in it, so I will probably I'll probably just discard the dish and sell it as a lemon box, because it's supposed to look like a lemon. It's actually hand-carved wood, very, very intricately done. It's a nice thing. I was really surprised. It's a shame this wasn't in better condition without that little chip on there. But again, this is another dollar piece. These are the table clearings, basically. At the end of an auction, you can pretty much buy a whole table of stuff for just a couple bucks. It's just stuff like this that they consider junk that no one wanted to bid up on or anything. And that's really probably the best part. And it's at the very end. You got to stick around to the whole thing to know when it's even going to happen. You can't just show up at the end, because who knows how long the auction's going to run. It could end early. Maybe not enough people there to bid. Who knows? Anything could happen. It go really late and you're going to end up getting stuck there anyway. So it doesn't matter. But the end cleanup is what I look for sometimes. Not always. It depends on the items. Like the postcards was another story. And this is the last thing in the box. This is like a, it might be a mounted postcard. I'm not really sure, but it's a Greenock Church, St. Andrews, New Brunswick, NB, New Brunswick. It's 1910, 1920. It's got a brass frame kind of on the edges. It's pretty interesting. Even if it is a postcard, which I'll have to measure to see for sure. It's very, very well done. It's early, it's vintage, it looks Victorian, it looks nice set in there. This was $1 too. It's got a glass front, it's gilt. It's not really much fancy or anything, but it's old, it's original, and it's a neat piece for $1. 15, 20 bucks is probably what I'll get out of it. I got this. I've got a couple of these. I've got one sitting over there on a shelf right now, just like this. And I'll probably list them at the same time. I've got like 6 now. Colemans, all Colemans. It's the only ones I usually mess with, unless they're an oddball military. I buy the military Colemans from World War II too. Those ones go for like a couple $100. Just looks like a little camp stove kind of thing. And then there's lanterns too. But the colored ones, the ones that aren't green, sell better than the green ones. This is like 25 or 30 bucks. I got 5 into it. It needs a new mantle. I have one. It's got a round globe. It's not shaped like the newer ones. So this is like 50s. And it needs cleaning up a little bit, which I will do, because the enamel is awesome on this one. Other than a little bit of dirt or grime, it's in real good condition. It all can be cleaned up and spot cleaned. It'll look like almost new, this thing right here. Nice Bakelite handle. So again, 25, 30 bucks minimum on this. Everything seems to work. I think it's one of the, it takes diesel, I think is what this one takes. They all don't take the propane now. Let's see here. This doesn't look like much, but it's kind of hard to see it. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's an Art Nouveau image all the way around this. It's got like a lady with flowing hair and flowers and a ribbon around her and stuff on both sides. It's just silver-plated, appears to be, but it's well done. It's still got quite a bit of bristles on it, so someone could still use this. People who like the goth and the Victorian look, this is perfect for that. It probably was with a dustpan set at some time. I paid $3 for it. I figure I'll get at least $17.50 to $27 in that range. Bottom line, somewhere in that range. Could go as high as $50. Who knows? I haven't seen one quite like this before. Usually they'll have something fancy, not a lady on it, and certainly not an Art Nouveau. Those would be the hardest ones to run by, I would say. Let's see here. farming stuff always sells for us. I buy it whenever I see it, even pieces and parts. This is like a 1930s. I don't know how well you can see it. It's still a little rough. It's shrunken a little bit. It's a rubber piece. It's Auburn Rubber Company. And you can barely make it out on the bottom. Once you know what to look for, you'll be able to tell just by looking at the shape and how the emblem looks. Because after they've been sitting around, this is like from the 30s. So, you know, this thing is almost 100 years old on its own. And this is the oldest piece here. And I think I paid $10 for everything you see here. These 4 tractor pieces. This one should probably be $10 on its own easy. It's early, that's the thing. You'll see similar looking ones, but not this early. This one's from the 50s. This one even has the Auburn on it. Now this is missing a piece. I think it's like a grain elevator or something along that line. Still dusty, just the way they found it. But it's still soft. Someone's going to have the other part, and they're going to need this part. A tire's going to be broken, or you know, the plastic's going to be dried up and hard and cracked. And this is one you don't see very often. I couldn't find another one of these on there. I've seen it. I knew what it was, even without seeing the Auburn on it. If you don't, it's spelled A-U-B-U-R-N. U-R-N, so that's Auburn. But you can look these up yourself. There's some high-priced ones that go for a ton of money. I find the toy soldiers as well from Auburn. And this one here is the Bar Company. This is an Ohio one. Now, I find these around here, too. You just have to know which one. This one's not worth a ton of money, but I've got a bunch of these from the same company because the Bar Company was made around here, just like the Ohio Art Company. The ones who make the Etch-a-Sketch. They're from this area, so I find a ton of tin Ohio Art Company oddball stuff. You know, I've even found a Wizard of Oz set, which I've never seen in my life. It's the only one I've ever seen sell was the one that I had, and I got a ton of money from it. Came from a garage sale when I first started doing this. But putting these in a lot is what you do with a lot of these kind of things. And the last one here, this is actually a working Nouveau. Not worth a ton of money, but it's a friction pullback toy, and it still works. So, you know, another lot item here. These sell very well. I won't have any problem getting rid of them. Let's see here. I got some records, and I've got some just odds and ends. 1970s die-cast Honda motorcycle. You know, probably $8-10. This is a quarter. This one was $1 actually. In this one, it's a Las Vegas Club. Home of the 49-cent breakfast. It's a 1972 encased penny. I sell every one of these I get for $10-15 every time I get them, and they're only up for a very short time. When you see a encased U.S. penny in any of these things, you can pay a couple bucks for them. I wouldn't pay more than 2 or 3 at the very, very most on these. Otherwise, you know, it's borderline on some of that price. Might hold on to it for a little while if it's something odd or there's a bunch of them around. But I always sell them. I never keep these in stock ever. Or the aluminum center star ones. I never keep those in stock either. Every one of those I have is bought. Even if I have 3 or 4 up at the same time when I put them up, usually they're all sold or within, you know, a day or so, and it's bought by the same person. But I'll show you a close-up on this, actually. And I'll probably show you a close-up on some of these pins. I've got some trolley car items, and get you so you can see the Trifari mark. And I've got a quite rare Trifari piece here. I've only seen one other one in my entire life, but I'll show you that in a close-up, too, along with some of these records here. And we'll go from there. But I've got a couple more things behind me, and I'll show you the close-ups at the end. I'll do the records this time. I'm going to do a kind of a record video too for you real soon, just like I did kind of on the postcards, but it'll be a little geared differently, and I'll try and show you some ways to cut down what you have to look through. That's your key with records, is cutting your time down and eliminating things that are going to waste your time. So, you know, I've had people talk about they don't have the time to learn a new category. Well, I can hopefully show you a better way to find stuff in these other categories by narrowing down your search. So you're not searching through tons of records. You can quickly look through these things without looking them all up, because you might be lost looking at these records. But I'll go over that in a few minutes here too. Let me show you the last few things. This was $1 too. He didn't know what to do with it. Just some family thing he thought. Let's see if you can get that all in the picture here. But this is from 1913, Casino Park in Mansfield, Ohio. That's the key thing. This hung up in the park. This had permission from the city to hang this in the park if they spent all this time. It was a small town back then. I'm sure the name of this family is still around there. You know, they're probably well known, and you can see the original lines where they drew it all out in the whole works. The casino's long gone. There was an actual full-fledged casino at this place. There's postcards for those of you who see the postcards I sell. I've had a postcard of Casino Park and of the casino. So, you know, for $1, somebody local is going to want this, whether it's their family or not. It's 1913. It's well dated. It's a masonite piece. It's early. It's not junk. They spent their time doing this. They drew it out right. I was kind of impressed with this piece, even though it's just nothing really, you know, it's not like a big advertising piece, but I figure I'll get at least 50 or 60 bucks for this all day long. Maybe way more than that because it says Casino Park and it's dated 1913. Who cares about the family information up there? That's not the key part. It is dated. It is marked for the location. You know where this was sat at. This sat at the park, you know? You signed in somewhere, obviously, with the sheet here, but that was, you know, quite interesting. Again, it could be a couple $100. I don't know, but it's going to be at least 50 bucks. I wouldn't take less than that. I wouldn't think it would go for less than that. But that's another good one. And this one here. Now, this one I had a chance to buy before it was broken, but he wanted way too much for it. Unfortunately, maybe I should have bought it. Somebody's put this together. It's probably from the 50s, but the lights on here are all original. There's two that are still good, the plastic casings. There's the Santa on skis. It still has the original light bulbs and the whole works. I don't want to mess with getting them out right now. Somebody made this up, it looks like. Let's see if I can get it off. Yeah, but they're the old style light bulbs. Somebody actually literally made that. Cut the cord and the whole works. But it's pretty interesting. These will just be pulled off. I paid $1 for this because they're broken, or at least this one is. And it might have been a set, who knows. This one's an ornament. I can actually take it off of here carefully. You can get the glue off the bottom of this. I'm not too worried. There's one single screw. I won't worry about that, but I should be able to get these off. For $1, these two pieces, this being Santa, I'll at least get 10 bucks for him. 15 or 20 maybe even. This is early 50s. Some of these hard plastic things go for a lot of money. They're like candy containers or something. Probably had candy in the back of that one. And it's same with this one here. It's probably a candy container. And this one here might even be a candy container too. There was probably a face on it or something and candy in it. Maybe it's a dual purpose thing. But for my $1, I'm definitely going to get my money back out of this. I'll at least make 20 bucks out of it. No way I'm not. I'll just discard, maybe, yeah, I'll probably just discard the cord and just sell these as candy containers after I research a little more. I didn't look if there's a mark. There's probably a mark somewhere, maybe on the bottom of the skis. It's usually on the bottom of everything. But that's the big items I got. We'll cut over to the screen and I will show you the close-ups of some records and some other little oddball items here, along with a couple pieces of Tafari, which you need to look for. Again, I'm going to be doing, and I've already started putting pieces together for a costume jewelry video, and I'm going to show you a couple hundred pieces probably, or as many as I can fit in about a 45-minute time frame. That seems to be about the max I got the ability to get in here. But that's what I'll try and shoot for. Maybe I'll have to do it in two videos, or even 3 if you're really interested in costume jewelry. I see it all the time. Savers has it. I make a lot of money off the costume jewelry when Savers was opened in our area. But we're going to go over to the screen right now. Okay, so another item I got, I'll show you here close-up wise, belt buckles. I see these early ones all the time. This one's not worth a ton of money, but it was 50 cents. So I'll probably get 8-10 bucks for it minimum. Close up on this here too. As I said, these tokens, as you can see, it's a U.S. penny with a aluminum border on it, usually advertising something. This is a pretty interesting one. Las Vegas Club. If I can look up where this is, and it's something maybe even in Las Vegas, this one might be worth some good money here. Either way, it's going to be worth at least 8-10 bucks. Let's see here. See, I don't know how well you can see these. Let's see if we can't zoom in here and give you a good focus on these. Let's see, it's kind of hard to show you with something this shiny. Let's see if you can see that. Let me see if I can't zoom in just a little more there. Sorry we're doing it this way. I was trying to show you better. I think you can see it there. Okay, that's the Tafari. And there's actually a crown above the T of Trifari, if you can see that. That's the one you want, Crown Trifari. And the best piece of Trifari I've gotten in a couple years is this one here. Let's zoom out. Well, let's show you the design, the marking first. Now, this is a Kuno Matsumo, and it's a Japanese designer, but it's a Trifari piece. Now, this is something you're not going to see every day. You ever see this, you need to hop on it as quick as you can get it. But it's a Trifari piece with someone else's name on it as well. He's a Japanese designer. Key piece. This piece, nothing fancy. This is worth at least $120. Let me zoom out a little bit better so you can see it. There we go. But it's nothing fancy. It's just an oddball 60s, maybe even 50s design. Standardized chain. Nothing real fancy, but it's still, that name on it makes it worth all the money there. Again, rare piece. I've only had one other one of these in my entire life, ever. And I knew what it was the second I saw that writing on there. There's a couple other ones that Trifari had special pieces signed, but this is the one you want. This is the bomb one. Got a couple pins here, too. Let's see if I can get these out real quick. Nothing real fancy. We'll zoom in here too. And we'll focus again so you can actually see it. Fraternal Order of the Eagles is what this is. It's enamel. This is an early one. Well marked. It screws off on the back here. Kind of like a cufflink almost, I guess you'd say. This is probably, I paid 50 cents for this and another one. It's probably worth, I don't know, $8-10 minimum, up to like into the 20s. This was an early one. I haven't seen one quite this old with the scrolling on the bottom. Hopefully we can see that and it's focused good enough for us. And then here's another oddball religious piece. Now, I don't know what this one is, and you won't know until I focus it either. Let's see, you can see it's got 150 in there. It's hard to get these little tiny things focused on a video. But there you go, you can kind of see it there. It's a real early pin. No idea what this is, but some of these religious pins, even this size, I get $30-40 for. And this is an odd one. I have not seen it, as I said, so this one could be a real primo one. Nice purple enamel on it too. Let's put that back in there so no one gets hurt by the needle, the pin. And I just got a couple other things here in a bag, and then I'll just show you some records, and we will cut it off at that. I've had a real long week, especially with the PC dying on me. These are, let's see if I can get you in view. Now again, these aren't anything fancy. I got like $5 into all of these. These are trolley car employee pins and stuff, like service pins, union pins. They would have worn them on their uniform. Whole bunch of them, all from the local area. Again, not worth a ton of money here. I only have $5 in them all. But they'll probably go for like $40 or better for all of these. Don't get carried away because they're trolley, because these are just union pins. Now, if this was from the actual trolley company, and it had the trolley company itself, not the union, but the trolley company, these would have went for some big money. But these are like union pins and membership pins as opposed to trolley company pins. And let's see, let's move on to the records here. I'll give you just a couple basics on the records too. Give you an idea. Just a second here. I got a couple different kinds that you don't see, and some other items in the records that you can see and that you should look for as well too. Let's back up here a little bit and do another focus here. You can see my posties. As I said, I've got posties everywhere. The small ones, I buy them in huge bundles of posties. But with so many employees, you got to make sure you got everything covered. There, I guess that's about the best we're going to get here. Now, this is in the sleeve still too, but this is actually a radio station or jukebox, either or. It could be either. Let me pull back out a little farther so we can see this. But that's what this is, and that's why it says stereo 7-inch, 33 1/3. These go in the jukeboxes that carry those. But here you go, it's web pierced, it's a stereo. Now this one here is an oddball one, Georgetown Blues. I think this one's going to go fairly well. I can't find a copy of this song, but a comparable one is in the $20 range. So I'm putting $22.50. I got a lot of early rockabilly, honky tonk, and boppers in this. Stonewall Jackson. I'm just going to keep them in the sleeves. You can kind of see the label. This is what would be called a Columbia 4-eye because it has 4 eyes. There's some Columbia LPs that have 6 eyes, and you'll see that actually listed in the title. They only did that for a year or two or a very short time, so those are usually worth more. But this is like a $12.50 record. And again, these are something I'd give to an employee to list. I've got 2 from here. These are 50 cents or $1 for each one of these records. And there's going to see some high dollar ones in here in just a minute. This is an oddball one here too. It's in the sleeve. It's a double 45 EP set. I hate to kind of back up on here, but that's what this is. It's a 45 still too. You can see it's the same size. $27.50, and that's what this sells for. You can look for it on Pop Psych as well too. Here's a 4-star. This is an early country label. T Texas Tyler, Old Blue. This is a fairly good one too. $17.50. It should sell quick. Some of these are oddball titles. And then I've got a bunch more of that same jukebox. Let's focus this in again here. But it's just by somebody else. This is an oddball person too. It's a stereo again, 7-inch, 33 1/3, Goldie Hill. Now these are like boppers, and they'll go fairly well. These are scarce. These are most of the ones by her that are just standard 45s don't go for a lot, but these are harder to get. So I'm going to put $27.50, and I actually have 3, I think, by her. All decent ones, all early Decas. Yeah, there's 3. So that's almost $100 on those 3. And these are what I expect to get out of them in that range. Eartha Kitt, Santa Baby. I sell every one of these I get for $8 to $15. In Christmas season, maybe 20. If you have it in the sleeve, like 40. That's a good one. I got $14.50 on this one. Here's a Latin Jazz. This is an oddball one too. Bobby Woodlands. Harlem Mambos. I haven't seen this one before. I put $125 on this one. The last one I saw by this person, not this one, but a comparable one, went in that high price range. It's a scarce person, a scarce performer. I only could find a promo, so it might be even harder to get the actual stock copy than the actual promo. That's hard to say. Let's move on here. So we're well over, right, I think we're like at 240 right now with what we got. This is like 267-ish, somewhere in that range. Another oddball one, John Barry does James Bond, but this is John Barry 7, and this is actually like a jazz version of the James Bond theme. So this is an oddball one, $27.50. It's still in the old stock sleeve too. This is Frank Sinatra, Bim Bam Baby. It's $17.50. It's from 1952. Again, these are the oddball ones. These are the ones that most everybody else probably walked right by and didn't mess with because they weren't anybody that they thought they knew or would be worth anything. Judy Scott, $37.50. These are just standard Decca labels. Nothing special about them. But it's just a game of love. It's a decent song. Now this one's pretty good. This is $27.50 the way it is. Now this wouldn't be worth a ton of money had it not have the jukebox strips in it. And this is jukebox strips for a whole bunch of them. Sometimes you can just sell these jukebox strips here for, like $10. Just one of these little strips. Just the one top one. I might sell these separately. I'll have to look it up because each one has a complete set of all of her records. It would have went with the little Seaberg records. These go in a jukebox, as I said. And this is one of them here. These Seaberg things sometimes can be worth a ton of money. So the record itself, I'm going to put $27.50. It's Rock Around the Christmas Tree. It's the first pressing, 1950-ish. Real good one here. I was surprised to see that one. But $27.50 plus we'll have to figure out what the jukebox strips go for. I always grab those jukebox strips when I like this. Here's a promo. If you didn't know it was a promo, the pink is a promo. And it says it up here, sample copy. This is an oddball group, like a bluesy bluegrass. And this one's like in the $10 range. It was just thrown in there. I didn't know for sure, and I took a chance. I'm still going to make some money on it. Here's one of the better ones, too. This one's like $145, and the one of these hasn't sold, I think, since 2010. So this one's probably, could be, who knows, in the $200 range maybe even. But I'm at least going to put $145 on it. Hot Rod Race Navy style. It's a rockabilly bopper. It's a good one. I thought it was literally the Sheraton hotels because they do have their own labels. It still may be, but this one's a good one. I haven't seen this label recently. I saw another one that said Sheraton. That may or may not be the same label, so it's hard to say. But this is an early one, 50s. Again, $145 I'm putting on that one.
We're going to put that one back in a sleeve. Somebody asked if I play these. I do not play most records unless they're worth $200 or more. That's just a general rule. I know grading-wise enough. I've handled, a million plus records in my time, probably more than that even. And I kind of know that by now. Here's a bopper, Wiley Barkdale, oddball name. I had to look this person up. But $34.50 is what I'm putting on it. Should get somewhere in that range. Here's another early on that Sheraton label. When I saw the other one and saw it was a hot rod race, anything on that label I figured was going to be fair game. And sure enough, the only other one I saw on that same label out of all the ones I looked through is this one. And it's another rockabilly bopper. It's an early one too, so this one should go fairly well in the 95 range, maybe even higher. I'll have to think about that one. There's not any recent comparables to that. Let's see here. Here's a D label, Jimmy Blakely. I've had this one before. I usually always get $10 or so out of this, and it usually sells fairly quick. It's the D label. There's people who just collect every record from this label, and that star means it's the push side. This is the side they wanted the record stations to play. This one shows up in the Ohio area. The D label was pressed here in Ohio too. So again, quick $10 on that one, 50 cents on that record. Sometimes you find ones you've never seen or heard of, and here's another good example. I don't stray away from polkas because I do sell polka records quite often for decent money. This is an oddball one. My wife's a big coffee nut. She loves coffee. Oberek, it's a coffee Oberek. So this one might go well. Sparks of Fire Orchestra. It's on a micro label, an oddball label. This is like 1950s. It's a Michigan one. There's a lot of Polish people in this area, so who knows who this is, but somebody's going to know and think it's a good one too. Wedding Invitation Polka. This could even be a country record. I will have to play this to know for sure. It could just be some gimmicky name, but it's in excellent condition. I'm going to throw this one on the turntable just for curiosity's sake, if nothing else. But I'm putting $57.50 if it's just polka, and if it's not polka, something better like country or something, I'm going to put way higher on it. Here's a rare Christmas one. Holiday ones sell. I don't mind buying them now and having them sit around. The Wilson sisters. Now, I can't even find out who this technically is. There's a couple different versions of the Wilson sisters. And if you do a Google, you're just going to get Nancy and, geez, I can't think of her name, but the Heart from the group Heart. Magic Man, the whole works. Love the group, seen them in person, but that's not who this is. So, and all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. Could be a couple cute little girls singing or something. This might go very well. It's a vocal duet. It's a King label who has a chance of this being sold. I'm going to put like $125 on it and see what happens. I don't care about which sleeve they go into when I get them like this, but I do send these all out in plain white sleeves or a stock sleeve. Bel Air Girls. Now, this is an oddball one. I've only seen LPs of this one for sale, and I haven't seen any promos, so I'm going to put $34.50. The LPs go for like 10 or 15. Blue Moon, you've heard the song. I'm sure everybody knows the song. If you've seen American Werewolf in London, that's played while he's changing from Michael to the werewolf. But let's move on here. This is the last group here. Again, you've probably just seen like 500 plus in records. Altogether, this haul's like about $1,000 or somewhere in that range. Not counting the postcards. The postcards I'm probably going to make like $1,500 on, I'm guessing. But this is for two of these records. These were gospel. I usually pay 50 cents or less. I actually got these two for a quarter, 50 cents for the pair, just because they are gospel. But the Blackwood Brothers sells for the most part. And these 45s are not really worth selling individually. I'm just going to put $17.50 for the pair of them and put them in a lot. You'll see the same label on a 78, and I do sell those for $10 to $25 a piece, and I'll put them together in lots, so I don't have to send out a $10 78 record. But that's what I got today. Gives you some ideas on some of the labels and some of the few pieces of costume jewelry.
Well, there you go. That's what I got. Again, it's from two different adventures. One was the haul from one of my pickers, and the other one was at an auction that I personally went to. But hopefully you saw something you liked. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button below, subscribe, and tell a friend.